Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today's video, it's a recovery video, and it's about cars. It's actually about cars because I'm buying a new car next month. As soon as the snow stops here in the Northeast, I'm going to finalize a deal and pick up a new car, and I have to sell my car. And I've thought about all the cars that I've owned over the last, I've been driving for over 40 years. I've been driving and I've owned at least 20 cars over the last 40 years. And I started to think about this. I hate selling things. I'm not a salesman. I hate selling things. I only sold one other car out of all the cars that I've owned. I only had one car left in saleable condition. I've had two cars in the last 17 years since I've been clean and sober, since October 23 of 2006. I had a 2003 Ford Focus, and then I have the car that I own now, a Honda Fit. And I sold the Ford Focus. No accidents, no tickets, and I sold it. And this car I'm going to sell. But before, when I was using, this was not the case. I wrote down some of the cars here. I didn't have one car that I sold back in the 25 years that I was using. They either got impounded by the police or I traded them, straight up traded them to dealers. And I want to talk about this, these things called rock rental. The reason I'm talking about this is if there's people out there that are just starting to mess around with this stuff, if there's family members that all of a sudden the car, somebody in your family, the car comes up missing and they don't know where it went. Somebody borrowed it or it got stolen and it sounds suspicious. I don't want to be a narc, but I think there's a greater good here in shining a light on some of the stuff that happens in addiction. Okay, this is what I want to talk about mainly. Like in the early years, when I was like a teen in my 20s, I had Camaros and Firebirds, and every one of them got totaled because I was drinking. Seriously, I didn't sell one car. Every car I owned Cadillacs, Camaros, Firebirds, and every single car. I never sold one. They all got totaled. Then as I got more into addiction, the cars, I actually traded my cars, or they got impounded by the police, and I never got them back. Let me talk about this a little bit. The one car that really still sticks in my mind is a 1997 Nissan 240Z convertible 5-speed, a beautiful freaking car, blue. And this was around 2003, and I was using, and a lot of this stuff, a lot of times I found the most trouble I got in was when there was intimacy involved, when it was drugs and intimacy, because I had this picture in my mind that it's going to be such a great night, and I got to keep the party going. Okay, so I was with some friends and a girl in particular, and by the end of the night it was just me and the girl. And we were using cocaine, we were smoking crack, and I was running out of money. So I told her I got an idea. Whenever you go into these hoods, or where I used to go to buy crack, a lot of the dealers would run up to the car. And when I started buying there, I found that if you don't have money, they'll trade your car for they will give you like three $20 rocks, $60. They'll tell you it's for 2 hours to borrow your car for 2 hours. So they get in your car, the dealer, they drive you back to your house. You get out, they give you maybe $40, $50, $60 worth of the drug, and they take your car. And hopefully they come back. And usually they wouldn't come back. And me and all the people I know would still keep doing this. And this is when the worst happened one night. So I got this idea, I was so strung out. This is a car I loved, and I usually would never, I had done this a few times, traded my car, and I love this car. And I had said no every time they asked before this, but I wanted to keep the party going this night. So I told her I'd be right back. And I went and I made this deal. The dealer hopped in the car. We went back to my house. He dropped me off with, I think it was like $60. And I let him drive away. in my 1997 240Z 5-speed. I still remember it going up the road, him hitting the gears, and I'm like, oh my God, that was a bad idea. So of course, this is the thing. Rock goes very quickly. $20 will go in 5 minutes. $60 will go in less than an hour. So so me and the girl are sitting there and we're smoking and it's gone. All right. So I call up the guy. And the deal is, come on back by. I'll let you have it for another 3 hours if you give me another 60. And the dealer would always say, "What do you mean? The first 3 hours isn't even up yet. Chill out, man. I'll be by when I'm by. Because once they have your car, they're in control. And looking back, I can't believe I was this desperate. The desperation, the stupidity to trade it was probably a $5,000 car for $60 worth of the drug. Seriously. All right, so the girl, of course, the drugs ran out, and the girl left. And I was there all by myself with no car. And it was 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to go to work the next morning. I had to drive a good 10 miles to work, and I didn't have a car. And so I was awake all night. And I told myself by 6 o'clock, I have to come up with a plan here. If the car's not back, what am I going to do? And by 6 o'clock the next morning, 7 o'clock, I managed to get a ride from somebody at work. And I figured I would have to call the police and report it stolen, which now I'm getting myself in even bigger water because I'm committing another crime by making a false report. And I did that. I told the police, I called them up, I reported the car. After work, I went down there and filled out a report. I told them that I had left the car in a parking lot and I had left the key. Well, how come they say, well, where's the keys to it? And I said, well, I left the keys in it. Because, when they get the car back, it's going to have the keys with it if and when they ever get the car back. So I had to somehow make it sound like my car got stolen, but somehow with the keys. So I said I left the car in a parking lot, and I was just used to putting the keys under the seat, and I just put the keys under the seat, and I came back, and the car was gone. It got stolen. And looking back, the cops must hear this story like every week. The cops must hear. Something fell again over there. I said I wasn't going to talk about this. The cops probably heard this like every day. And 2 weeks went by, and I got a phone call from the police department. We recovered your car. And of course, when I got this phone call, I was drinking and I was high. So one of my family members picked me up. I said, they found my car. And they came pick me up, and they brought me up into it was found in the hood. They had the guy who was driving it. He had a gun on him. It wasn't even the same guy. I had no idea. The guy that was driving it was not the same guy that I traded it to. It was somebody I have no idea who this guy was. And I was all buzzed. And I was screaming, lock him up. He stole my car. When in reality, I traded my car. So I was playing the righteous victim here. And it was, I feel, honestly, part of me feels bad because, I'm a white guy from the suburbs and it was a black guy that was driving my car, and I don't even know if he knew it was my car, and it was that it was stolen. And I'm screaming at him, lock him up, and I still feel, part of me still feels bad to this day about that. I got the car back, and it was demolished. The transmission was gone, and I think that's why he got caught, because the car was undrivable, and it was found in this, and it was found in the exact neighborhood where I found the dealer 2 weeks earlier. But the guy driving it, I have no idea who he was. And I still remember the look of the cops' faces. They're like, they just looked at me like, whatever, like they knew what had happened. So this happened maybe three other times with a 2003 Chevy Beretta. Gone. I never saw the car again. That one I don't think I even reported stolen. I always worried about, if I don't report it stolen, and they do something, if they commit crimes with this car, and the car is going to come right back to me. Stupid things you do. You don't, and this goes right out the window when you're using. There was a 1992 Cadillac DeVille. I was in the hood buying, and I see cops pulling up. So I just parked the car really quick because it looks like a raid in this neighborhood. And I park the car, and it's dark. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I start walking really quick through the projects, and I could hear the cops following me. I could hear the jingle jangle of their belts as they're coming up on the sides of me. So I start walking faster, and I just duck in a bar, and I lost them. And I went back to get my car, and my car was gone. I never saw the car again. I just let them keep it. And it was the same with the 2003 Chevy Beretta I lost, the 1997 Nissan 240Z, 1992 Cadillac DeVille, a 1995 Buick Riviera, all gone, all traded, all impounded by the police, and I never went back to pick them up. This stupidity and desperation. These things are called rock rides. And if somebody in your family is using and all of a sudden a car disappears and they don't have a really good reason, something doesn't sound quite right, it might be a rock rental. Recovery is possible. It's the best life. Like I said, I'm not a saint by any means, but these days I don't have to lie. There's nothing I do. There's no place I go. There's nothing I say or do that I'm ashamed of or have to hide. My life's an open book. It's to some people that might sound boring, but I can't tell you the weight that's been lifted from me and how good my life is now. Recovery is possible. You guys, I'll be back later with another video, and I have a Taylor Swift spoken word, and I'm probably going to download it today. And I'm kind of ambivalent on that. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a great Tuesday.